today we have got a very special guest on our podcast. We've got Arjan. So I am going to let you introduce yourself, just in case there's anyone out there who has got absolutely no clue with who you are, how you're linked with me. Just get you to...
That would be surprising, wouldn't it, if they didn't know.
Yeah, so introduce yourself.
Yeah, sure. So I'm your husband. How long have we been married? That's a test, isn't it?
We always forget, don't we?
Yeah, both of us, which is reassuring that it's not just me. Normally it's the guy, isn't it?
Yeah, we know the date.
You're there rolling your eyes. So I think 7 years coming up. 2017.
I can't do maths.
Yeah, 7 years coming up.
Okay. Yeah. Cool. And I guess, like, what's your profession? Because people may not know that. They may just think you're a Lola dog walker or something.
Yeah.
I don't know.
That's it, isn't it? Yeah, walking Lola and just starring in some reels in the background. So yeah, I'm a dentist. Had the practice nearly 10 years, and finally hanging up the...
Nice.
I don't know. I don't even know that term anymore. Yeah, just calling it a day with the practice. Yeah. This April, which is exciting. So looking on to new adventures, and we'll see where everything goes. It'll be a nice new adventure. Amazing,
10 years though, if you think about where you started with the practice, the way it's all grown, and it just kind of shows, I bet 10 years ago you never would have thought this would have happened as well. So it just shows how we're always reflecting, evolving, changing things. What we may have thought 10 years ago, our vision in life may be really, really different when you're in it and when you're living it, if that's fair to say, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, that's exactly it. I think when I bought the practice, had this sort of vision in my head of where I wanted to take it. And sort of what I wanted to be in that sort of time, 10 years down the line, who I was going to be, what that sort of looked like. Yeah. And I sort of came to the realization about a year ago, well, actually, my vision is, well, who do I want to be is not what things I want to have. And owning the practice, it's a lot of time, effort and energy to grow everything. And then it really has a sort of a knock-on effect on my general health, coming back late, all the stress of recruitment, looking after staff, and
because all the dentists out there are gonna know, if you're a dentist looking for a job, it is easy to probably get a job. If you're someone hiring for a dentist, it's somehow a nightmare to get a dentist, which makes no sense, because there's apparently on the GDC register there are thousands of dentists that are registered, but where are they?
You think, 10 years ago you put an ad out and I'd get 80 CVs for a job.
Yeah, in the BDJ as well.
Yeah, now it's maybe 5 to 10 if you're lucky, and also the quality of the candidates is a lot lower. Yeah. So you've got to be really, really careful. Everybody sort of wants to jump into different types of jobs, and then recruitment's a bit of a headache, and it's not part of the vision that I see myself doing. Is waking up at 7 a.m, coming back at 8 p.m, doing that 4 times a week, and then an admin day. It's intense. So call it a day and kind of focus on me.
It's when we set goals for ourselves in life, I don't know, maybe because of the way we are with our career and things, of being dentists, we'll always see it as a dentist, where do we want to be in 10 years' time? And I think it's really easy to kind of forget, actually, where do we want us as a person to be in 10 years' time? Because I think we've always worked so hard to become a dentist from the age of 2. You go to school, you'll do extracurricular activities, and that's all you kind of know. And it's so easy to, as you said, forget about ourselves or our health or the lifestyle. If you're leaving at 7 a.m, you're coming back at 8 at night. What else are you doing? What else is our purpose in life versus just fixing teeth, right?
Well, this is it. Yeah, I think it speaks for other professions as well, isn't it? If you're a medic or if you work in the city, any sort of corporate job is really, really similar. You put in this graft, you're up so early, you're working so long, and then it comes to it and you're well, you get home, you're exhausted, you can't be there for your wife, for your husband, boyfriend, girlfriend, even for Lola, right? Come back exhausted, not going to go for a walk. And then it has a knock-on effect on the type of food I'm going to eat. I'm not going to sit and cook for another hour if I get home at 8. So it becomes really, the sort of everything with that lifestyle becomes a bit of a problem, doesn't it? Eventually it will catch up unless you say, well, hang on a minute, where do I want to be? What do I want to do?
Yeah. But I think it's actually really hard to make that, to actually put that time aside to reflect, because it's so easy just to be, is it on the hamster wheel or on the no, not on the treadmill. That's me thinking about. There's, what's the phrase? Like on the hamster wheel?
Yeah, hamster wheel. You just keep spinning, don't you? It's just a never ending thing.
Yeah,
you just
but
keep
like,
going.
when do you find that time to step off that wheel for a little bit and actually think about the bigger picture? And I know, like, I hope you don't mind me saying, but I know, like, when you do kind of come home sometimes and Lola may not give you the attention that she does on other days, and then I'll always say to you, like, I think it's because she just spends more time with me, and then you get really upset, and I feel, I don't know if secretly if it's like you just want Lola to give you more licks.
Yeah, no, I mean, it just shows, doesn't it?
Lola was our dog, because that may sound a bit weird if you're talking about someone giving you licks and things. Right?
Oh dear.
Yeah,
no, it's, I mean, it's not just Lola's affection that drives changing. It is that hamster wheel ultimately, isn't it? You keep running and running and running, and it's, to what end? When is enough? What else are you compromising, and how long are you going to do that? So for me, it was compromising health, compromising time with you, time with Lola, make sure we're like eating healthy, get the chance to go to the gym, even hitting my steps. Some days it just became like, if it's in the winter, you come back at 8 p.m, it's dark, it's probably raining or stupidly cold. It just doesn't happen when you're exhausted. So it was a bit of a revelation. It took some time out in 2013, sort of middle of the year, started doing a different business course, and the first book and stuff they talked about was that Simon Sinek Why. I was like, well, before we try and take your practice one step further, why are you doing this? And again, that can relate to so many things in life. Like if we've not got that deep rooted reason of why are we doing it, it's always so much harder. Like it feels like a obstacle every single time. But when you've got that deep rooted reason, and like a bit like how you were saying, like you realize that your health hadn't really been prioritized, and now you're going to the gym. So it's like you had that realization, and then you've made that change to actually now prioritize that. And I guess for like everyone out there, like people won't realize, if you're happy to share, like you used to be like quite an avid gym goer. So I know, like when we met, like fitness was like a common interest, and then obviously like with work, then it'd be more I would go to the gym by myself and you just kind of carry on working. And now it's actually been quite cool, like we're working out together. I think some people who go to our gym must just see us see us together all the time now.
Exactly. And it's like, how have you found like that transition from not working out consistently for probably like a good 5 years to now getting back into it? Because for me it's been really nice to like see you get back into the gym, and then you'll come up to me and be like, oh, look at my back, or look at my shoulders, or
things are changing
look
slowly.
at how my top looks like now. And it's like, it's more too, as well as like being healthy, but we always feel a lot better, like more energized, more confident. So if you're happy to kind of share the transition of how you got back into it, because obviously you started with like running was one of your things, and then now you've transitioned to weight. So what's made you change from one to the other, if that's fair to say as well?
Well, I suppose so. First, I used to go to the gym really often back when I didn't have the practice really, and that almost changed overnight. It sort of died down a little bit. I was going maybe 4 or 5 times a week. 2012, 13, 14. And then as the practice sale was going through, or purchase rather, was going through, that would drop down to maybe 2 or 3 times a week. And then pretty much the day we got the practice, I just had so much work to do in terms of trying to get an understanding of how the business was, that just stopped going. And then we got a joint David Lloyd membership maybe 4 years ago. And you're like, look, is there any point in doing this?
I keep trying to cancel it.
Should I just get it on my own because look, you're not going to go? And I'm like, no, I am going to go. I am going to go. God knows how many hundreds and hundreds of pounds we would have wasted, probably thousands now actually, because I just refused to let you cancel my half of the membership.
Because sometimes when we've got
it's being put to good use now, isn't it?
That membership as well, you kind of feel like, well, I'm doing it. I've got that membership. And it's like, it's not enough. Like having that, was it diamond card or they try platinum card?
It's pretty cool, isn't it? And you get that padlock.
Yeah. Oh, I don't even know what that padlock is. Like, and if I do, the code's probably just like 000, which is crazy. But yeah, it's really cool, like seeing you now get into it. And you also pick up on like other people's form being really bad.
It's really interesting, actually. Yes, to answer the question before, like, so since I've gone back, I set a running target because I thought, well, that's just general fitness. If I can run, then I'm generally fit and a lot more healthy, and like cardiovascular health is really important, right? So I thought, well, I used to be able to run 10K. I definitely couldn't do that now in under an hour. I could run it, jog it, stop, walk a bit, jog, run it, jog, and get there, but it will take maybe an hour and a half or something silly. So I thought, okay, let me just try and get that back, and then if I can do that, that's a sign of general fitness, and I'll feel a lot better. And then I started doing that, and I did feel a lot better. But then treadmill running is different to road running, and my affliction to the sun means it's a bit more tricky for me to road run or run in the park, which was quite enjoyable historically. So then transition to weights is also really fun because it's a different part of the gym. It's a little bit more daunting perhaps for some people, but then you get used to it, don't you? And everybody's there. Everybody ultimately helps each other. You get the occasional dickhead, but I think that's the same everywhere, isn't it? Even
And it's quite nice, again, when you see other people who are being really consistent, I will be like, oh, there's that person. Or I think we've probably got nicknames.
The legs guy.
There's like that guy with his like fake quads. And but I guess people have probably got nicknames for us.
I'm sure they do.
So, and I guess, like, have you got any goals in terms of your fitness or weights? Because I know, like, I'm quite keen on never saying I quite like a performance or a weighted goal, because I think it's something really quite empowering, like when we get to that. So have you set anything like that? And don't worry, I'm not going to keep you accountable publicly, but just interesting to be aware of.
I probably want to achieve two things. So the first one is that cardiovascular health. I think maybe not running, but some form of what would it be? Cardio exercise, right?
Fitness level, right? Like not getting out of breath.
But the reason to do that is general health, but also then to pick up sports again. So I used to play a lot of hockey at school and then at uni.
When you're the captain, you're down playing it like you used to play.
Long time ago now. So I'd like to get back into some sort of sport, maybe squash or tennis or something like that. But then I'd need to feel like, to be able to play, I'd need better. I don't want to just do 2 minutes and be exhausted and have cramp or something silly.
You may not get anyone who wants to play with you as well.
So first goal is cardio for that. And then the other goal is I used to be able to do maybe 15 pull-ups, like wide grip pull-ups, and 3 sets of those relatively straightforwardly. But that was, like a decade ago. So working back towards something like that is the other goal, to just be able to do loads of pull-ups.
And that's also in line with like having a good balance as well, of like not just living in the gym, or you know what I mean, like
definitely
doing it in the right way.
I don't know, there's something about body weight exercise, if you can do it, it's one thing lifting weights, but if you can do the body weight stuff or then add weight onto it, that's something pretty awesome, I think.
Like literally being able to carry your own weight. I always think as well with these things, like it can always be transitioned into other areas of our life. So say, for example, like, if something happened and, you had to like lift a human or something, you could just do it. And it's a bit like, even like when we go like away or something and you've got to put like a suitcase in the taxi, and I know like the taxi driver's always like, oh, shall I come and help you? And I'm like, no, I've got my bag.
You could do it in there. To be fair, you're probably stronger than the taxi driver.
Probably,
and they run out to help. And by the time they get there, it's already in.
Exactly. So what I find like with like strength training, or even like with cardio, is it's literally used in so many aspects of our life, but we just don't realise. And obviously, as you said, like the health side of things, because I think we've both had our fair share of like going inside the hospitals in England, and I think that's the one driver that I always want to be as healthy as possible, because I do not want to end up in that hospital, because
it's scary, isn't it? I mean, our time will always come one day, but
if I can delay that,
and you want to give you the best fighting chance to recover from whatever illness it is, isn't it? And it's scary. I remember when I was doing my Max Vax hospital training, the types of patients we'd see, it was just like anybody could get like oral cancer, but how people would recover was definitely down to their general fitness levels. We had people out of there in 3 or 4 days, but then we had people out of there in 2 weeks. Post-surgery, it was crazy.
And it's all to do with like how you've looked after yourself long run, and it's not like the week before or like when you get that diagnosis you're like, oh, let me now do something.
Let me quickly go for a run now. That will help.
And you're like, it's too far. Because I guess like if you think about the stats of like, you know, the number of people who are unwell or even like obese in England, it's like mental. And then the NHS is obviously having a crisis, they can't keep up with it. Like again, you go to A&E and people are in corridors and you're just like, this is...
I mean, our last trip to A&E with parents was a real eye-opener, wasn't it? People in corridors waiting. There was one lady, wasn't she just screaming her head off?
God, she's nutcase.
She was just absolutely mental. Just screaming her head off, and then they just pushed her to the front of the queue so they could get rid of her, wasn't it? And it was mental. It's crazy.
I thought that was quite clever of her. I bet she actually isn't like that. She was even knocking when I was in the loo. She's like, I need to get in. And I was like, oh my God, I better let this finish quickly. She had some good authority
but
there.
It's a scary thing, isn't it? The way that the health service is going, you've got to be so...
aware of health.
So healthy,
and that's the thing, like when you just keep working, it's kind of like, what is this for? And then before you know it, you're just so unhealthy, like, you know, you're having like high cholesterol, diabetes, all of that. And then all the doctors can do, because of the way the NHS is just put you on a drug. And then that's got 1,000 side effects that no one knows about. And it's like so mental. And I know like when I'm coaching people and we're looking at like bloods and things, even someone who may look really healthy, like honestly, it's like seeing what their cholesterol levels are like, or even vitamin D deficiency, because no one gets out, right? You're just working inside.
We're so sedentary, we're stuck indoors. Vitamin D is always going to be low.
And then that has an impact on our immune system, and it's like never ending. So touch wood, Arjan, this is going to be your healthy run.
What do you think is more important then with that? Is it weight training then, or cardiovascular for that sort of general long-term sort of health? What's the more important?
I guess like they're both as important as each other, but it just depends on like where you're at baseline wise, I guess, as well. So weight training is always going to be important, especially like if you think about so many people are getting osteoporosis because of lack of vitamin D. So you want to make sure you've got strong muscles, because if you think about
strong muscles means strong bones ultimately, doesn't it?
Because if you think about like the elderly population, a lot of them will die from like having a hip replacement, or like they can't get out of their chair. And it's actually like if you'd been doing weight training for like a good number of years, you're then going to be more fit and active, and then you're less prone to those types of like diseases. And then like with the cardiovascular side, like that's keeping your heart healthy, so that's super important. And it's just like having that right balance, but not going overboard on like one or the other. It's like getting that right bit in, really.
It's almost like if you're a marathon runner and you've got no muscle, like long term, or I'm sure that like a professional would be fine, but somebody that just runs, for example, probably not the answer. If something happens, you need that, you know, sort of dense, thicker muscles to be able to. But
they actually do strength training. It's just you wouldn't realise it. Like they don't like publicize it, I guess, but you have to, because otherwise you're going to get injured. Because think about the pressure on your knees and like all your joints,
crazy,
like your hip, like everything. So you need like the strong muscles around you to be able to support all everything else. And that's why when you got into running, I kept being like, oh, do you not want to maybe add some weights on the side or add on some stretches? And you're like, no, I've got this. And I'm like, okay, I'm not going to tell you what to do.
No, I'm glad I listened. It does make a difference, actually. My knees did start hurting a little bit. Just didn't want to say that before.
And I wasn't going to be like, I told you so either, because that's never a successful relationship, is it?
Oh dear.
So it's quite cool. But I guess like going back to like we are on a podcast, and just out of interest, do you even listen to any podcasts? Because we don't even know if anyone listened to this, right?
That's true. So what do I listen? I listened to the Stephen Bartlett one a little bit. Was it Diary of a CEO?
I think so. Do you think if we like tag him in it, he'll like reshare it?
I'm sure. I find that really hit and miss. Yeah. So it started, I thought, really, really good. And then there was this sort of bit a year ago where he just asked the same questions to everybody. Tell me about your childhood.
Yeah.
It's like, well, I don't really care about their childhood. Like, then that's not, the key thing about this person.
Yeah. And they're like 2 hours as well.
Yeah.
Like, so it's...
But then now he's getting some ridiculous people on there, isn't he? It's like he's almost going to extremes, getting controversial people on.
Yeah.
That's about a little bit of nonsense.
Yeah. What was that one?
It's a bit scary, isn't it?
Yeah, because a lot of people would take it on board.
Take it as fact.
Yeah, like...
And, I've got to do this. Like, wasn't it something about... He's there saying fuel is good. Yeah. And then he's got somebody on saying you've got
to... and blood glucose.
Yeah, and eating all the healthy veggies and all this. Yeah. And then have somebody on saying processed foods are no good. Yeah. And then in the middle there's that Huel advert again. Yeah. And then at the end there's a Zoe advert. You're like... And it just doesn't compute if you do everything that all the list that all is
and get your AG1 greens, but then it's like actually what Zoe says is get the real like foods and stuff like that, and then Huel is apparently nutritionally complete, so you don't need to make food, and then you don't need to buy or cook.
But then it's processed, and somebody on his podcast is saying never eat processed food, and he's promoting that. It's
and then, like, Huel still has a decent number of calories because it's a meal replacement, but some people just think it's like a shake, so they have it with their meal deal, and then it's just because I think it's now in the meal deal. Now as well.
Oh, really?
So I think you could get like a sandwich, a crisps or something, and then a Huel, and you're like,
Huel shake is the drink.
Yeah, and that's like over 1,000 calories in your lunch, and then you're like, oh, well, I had a Huel. I don't know why I'm not losing weight, and then it would be like,
that was because you had dinner as well and breakfast, and now you're on 3,000 calories.
Yeah, it's like,
wow.
But it'd be actually quite interesting to hear, like, from working together, or not as in working together, sorry, you're not a guy, from being married, it would be a better.
Sure, there we go.
Sorry, you can see I'm always on like work mode, right? Has that had any impact on like your food choices, or I don't know, and obviously we never slate a meal deal really, because actually if you pick the right things on a meal deal, you can't go wrong. But there's picking the right things and obviously the wrong things, like picking a full fat Coke versus... So
my problem with meal deals now actually isn't that, it's the fact that if you get a Tesco one, they've got Costa Express, and that's in the meal deal. Yeah. So I'm there and I'm like, it's like 1 o'clock at work. I'm like, oh, but Costa's normally like £3.50. Yeah. And the meal deal's like £3.40, £3.50, something like that.
Cheaper meal deal.
Yeah. So I'm like, well, I may as well just get that coffee. Yeah. Because that's the price of the whole meal deal anyway. So let me just get it. Yeah. And then I either get like a latte, but now I'm getting an Americano. Yeah. But then I'm buzzing at 10 p.m. still because it's so strong. Yeah. And then you can't... Meal deals are dangerous.
Yeah, I feel like they need a disclaimer on that coffee as well, because we were actually saying the other day, like, we have never like walked like on a high street and like you spot like what, like 6-7 coffee shops, and I'm just thinking like we even see like kids queuing up and things, and I don't think there's Christmas like a Day. Rule. Oh yeah, when
Christmas
we're in
Day
London.
In London, the only shops open were coffee shops.
Yeah. Crazy, I guess you still need coffee on Christmas. Like you can't if you're addicted to a substance.
But then they're like open 6 p.m, 7 p.m. It's mental, isn't it?
Yeah. But also I feel like, are kids even allowed coffee? Because we see it after school. Everyone goes to Costa. Yeah. And then they're like, some of them are like 8 or 9 years old because they wait for their parents.
Surely they're not having a...
Well, is there?
Maybe like
I've never seen
or something.
A rule being like you can't serve a latte to a, because they make them quite inviting. They're like there's a little gingerbread cookie on them, or they put. Do you remember they put like Quality Street on them at one point? And like I don't know.
I'd like, purple Quality Street.
Yeah, that was. But you know what I mean? I kind of feel like, is there a rule? Like, are kids allowed caffeine?
I have no idea, but I remember my mum wouldn't let us have coffee. Yeah. We had tea actually. We had quite a lot of tea, but she wouldn't let us have coffee until probably at uni or maybe in sixth form.
Okay, yeah.
When when I went to uni, moved out. Yeah. That's probably when I first went to a Starbucks. Actually.
But then also like think of how many Starbucks or Costas there probably were near us. You'd have to travel like 20 minutes to get to one. And here in 20 minutes you could see
now.
20. Like it's
drive-throughs as well.
Oh yeah, that's
that one in Watford, isn't there?
Yeah, that has the biggest queue. And I actually just think if you just got up, got some steps in, walked inside, but then are you then going to get tempted by all the other treats that they've put in as well? A bit like at the gym when they've got that banana bread right next to the till.
Oh, it just doesn't make sense.
Like you do a workout and then you have banana bread and a latte and done it. Game over. Like health out the window for like a second. Right?
Oh dear.
So it's quite funny. But yeah, I guess it's good that you like, I think, look at food a little bit differently now as well, don't you? Like you're always thinking about like, I think because you probably hear me like speak to my clients so much, or you hear me do like feedback or Facebook videos and you're just like, oh, okay, she's saying no caffeine after a certain time.
Yeah, the no caffeine thing is important, isn't it? I think I'm grasping that now that I can't sleep.
Yeah. But I kind of feel like the world is hooked. Like I literally see queues even in like Pret, and people who work in London or in the city, they're having like caffeine all the way to like 6-7 o'clock. But actually if they got good sleep, if they ate the right food, you wouldn't need that constant fix, because ideally you're just putting a plaster on a problem that you're tired. Like that's really what it is. Or you're addicted to caffeine, which I think I'd got to a point. Do you remember I'd be like, oh my God, I got these palpitations.
Yeah.
I'd be like, give me my next fix.
To be fair, I think it does make you a little bit sharper. If you've not had coffee for ages, let's say you don't have it for a week and then you have it, you will, I think, mentally feel a bit sharper.
Yeah.
But then save it for those times, I suppose, when you need to feel sharp.
Yeah.
Not just as a routine to wake up.
Yeah.
So
true. So any other
food things have definitely changed though.
Oh.
A lot more vegetables, seeing as you're vegetarian.
Yeah, but most vegetarians don't actually eat vegetables.
Well, that was a funny thing, wasn't it? Is that when we started dating, I was like, I thought to myself, I was never going to date a vegetarian. I couldn't believe it.
Yeah, and now you're married to one as well.
Like a right mug.
Well, it was worth it.
Yeah, definitely.
But I think that's the thing. Like even like when I work with people who are veggie, and I don't even see a vegetable in sight, like in their food tracking, and I'm like, have we had a fruits? Have we had a vegetables?
So what does a vegetarian eat if they're not eating vegetables?
Pizza, rice, like all the carby bits.
Okay, all the carbs.
Like, if you think about a typical Indian diet, or like typical Indian vegetarian diet, like all the shacks, like it's just potatoes. It's just
roti and
carbs.
Potato and rice.
Yeah. There's never any like variety in that, I feel, maybe. But
sometimes there's some green stuff in there, no?
I never know what that is. Is that even like, is that just a bit of coriander they've thrown in?
What's that vile stuff that's good for diabetics?
Kerala? No, is that a place in India? I don't know.
You can't say it,
Yeah. But I find as you get older, like taste buds change. So
well.
Oh, is it maybe as people get older they get diabetes?
They have to like it.
They're like, oh, try this. Or
the next fad.
Yeah. Oh, there's too
By
many.
then it'll be something else, won't it?
Oh, I dread to think. At least it's a natural fad. The worst is like the processed fads, or I don't know, like it's just rubbish sometimes.
Yeah, there's always a miracle cure for something, isn't there?
Yeah.
Like we were doing some research, weren't we, about PCOS, and spearmint tea is the thing.
Yeah.
Like, what a load of nonsense.
It's
You're going
just
to
like
just sit there
tea.
drinking tea and that's going to fix you.
It was a bit like green tea. Do you remember, like, I think I fell for that one, and then you could get like liver disease from having like more than 4 cups a day or something.
Really?
And it was
Serious?
like, because your body can't, it's really toxic apparently, so your body can't break it down. But what like people need to remember is like, it's not going to melt your body fat away. Yeah, it probably suppresses your appetite because you're having water, like you're having fluid. So I feel like everyone just like takes it really like out of sync. Or
and some green tea tastes vile as well.
Yeah.
So you're probably consciously having it, so you're consciously feeling more full.
Yeah, because you just worry that you need to have another cup if you don't see a change. Like, it's so mental.
I bet so many people just add sugar to it as well.
Thinking
it
so
tastes vile, so let me just add something to make it taste some
like
sweetness
coffee.
Or something.
Like that actually didn't, I could never drink black coffee before. Now I feel like maybe I've like trained myself into it. But it's so like bitter.
Otherwise it's going to be a latte or this or
with
a
that
frappa,
syrup
macchiato.
and like with whipped cream and gingerbread and like it's so mental, isn't it? But yeah, it's quite cool. Like, you know, when you, as you were saying, like when you hear all these podcasts, and you just got to be really aware of what you're listening
to be so mindful about it. Take everything with a pinch of salt, don't you? Because 1 minute they're supporting one sort of direction, and then it's almost like there's some sort of sponsorship behind the scenes, or
the money
an investment somewhere. Then well, look, if I invest in this new thing, like I'm sure Stephen Bartlett is got money in Huel.
Yeah, he does. That's why they sponsor the podcast, I think.
And Zoe as well. Like he's actually invested into both companies. He's like an
ambassador for it.
How does that work?
Yeah. But also, how can they let you invest in one if you're supporting something
morally, surely
against it?
Like,
and then,
like as a principle, hang on, how can you support these two ideologies?
But then you can lose like trust in someone like that who's actually probably trying to help people. Like he is, I guess, trying to say like, eat good food, be aware of what you're putting in. He's not saying eat loads of sweets and eat loads of chocolate. But it is still like you've got to be aware of who's listening out there, and then how much are they taking it on board? Because if they're not then talking to anyone else to like get their thoughts out on it, it's like a little bit dangerous, isn't it?
Really dangerous.
Like
it's
quite
crazy.
a different world we live in versus like 15 years ago, 20 years ago, there were like no phones, there was just books. Like going to a library.
But even those books, how many diet books have you got?
Yeah, just a joke though. Again, it's all just a money-making scheme, isn't it?
Wasn't there some, what was that Atkins ones, like just eat potatoes or something?
No, don't eat potatoes.
Don't eat potatoes.
It was like the opposite. It was just eat fat.
I bet you wish it was just eat potatoes.
Yeah, I could eat chips all day. And it was like eat fats, but they didn't talk about like good fats, bad fats. And then I think people just came out with like high cholesterol and
just
like
having like lamb and stuff.
Will just die from a heart attack, so you don't even know.
Oh my goodness.
But I think again, like you've got to really dig deep, and you can't just give generic advice because everyone's so different. Someone may already have high cholesterol and then they're following an Atkins diet and they're dead before you know it. Or like, it's obviously I'm like exaggerating a little bit, but just to get the point across, I guess. Isn't it?
Or keto now. That's the latest. Or is
but
that
that's
even a thing anymore? I don't even know.
Yeah, there's too many. Like, just eat. It's always just good to evidence-based keep it like normal.
It's
I
crazy,
guess, isn't it? So yeah, but I guess then if you were saying, I'm just now gonna jump all the way back to say like, you know how you were saying that you're kind of selling the practice so you can have more time. If now you've got more time, because I know it's a bit like, you know, when you say, or like when I used to revise for exams and I'd be like, oh, when I get more time, I'm going to do X, Y, and Z. And then I actually never used to do it because I thought I wanted to do it because I didn't have the time. And now I've got the time. I'm like, oh, I don't really want to do it.
Yeah, it gets filled with other stuff, doesn't it? Like that was a typical thing after exams.
Yeah.
You got all this time, and you had like wanted to do X, Y, Z. And
and then you end up just sitting on the sofa doing nothing. And it's like, so I guess like now you've hopefully got more time, or you're going to get more time. Is your priority going to be like then health or spending time with Lola? Like what would you say would be like your ideal vision, or listening to more podcasts?
So it was mainly to slow down, be more present, and just enjoy the moment. Always when you've got a practice or a business or a corporate job, these sort of things, it's always there in the back of your mind. Like if you're in corporate, I'm sure you're worried about people,
stocks, shares,
whatever it is, and then you need to perform while you're out, or you want to get the next promotion and there's 10 people at your level and then there's only 2 people at the level above, and there's all this competition and you need to look good and all of this for your boss. So there's always that in the back of your mind, isn't there? So now I don't have that. I'm not going to be as full of that sort of background clutter. I hope I can be a lot more present.
Although you do have a boss still to impress, we've got to remember.
I still need. So I'm still doing dentistry. So I still need to do the work, and I still need to make sure that I look after people well, and that I can help support the younger dentists and still help. But it's different, isn't it? It's different when you're not so worried about making sure that all the targets are met and that all the staff are happy and this person's ill or that person's on holiday. That back of mind clutter is sort of hopefully just going to evaporate.
And also with the way the NHS is going in dentistry, it's a little bit mental, isn't it?
It was bad when we started 2011 in our first jobs, and it's really sad actually.
They just keep putting the prices up, and
people
then
pay their tax money for a service. It's supposed to be free. It's never been free.
And
then the government have consistently cut. haven't they, over the 15, 13 years, 14 years, have consistently cut funding every year.
Yeah.
While increasing patient charges.
Yeah.
So you end up getting less and paying more.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's sad. All deliberate, no doubt.
Yeah. Of course. Yeah.
Yeah. So that, going back to your point, the back of mind stuff, hopefully, and I can be a lot more present.
Yeah.
And then focus on health, go to the gym more.
Yeah.
So typically, if I was on my admin day, I'd think I would go to the gym in the morning.
Yeah.
But then I'd look at my phone and there'd be something on it. There's always something on it.
Yeah.
That I need to do that, and then I'd get, because I'm on the laptop or on the computer. Then fine, I'll just do the next thing, and then before you know it, it's 12 o'clock.
Yeah.
And then you're not had breakfast, so you have something to eat.
Yeah.
Then I don't know, I feel a little bit sluggish, and then chill for a bit, and then I thought, like, I used to find by the time it's 3 o'clock, I wasn't going to go to the gym.
Yeah.
So now hopefully I can change that routine and make sure.
Yeah.
Well, I have been.
Actually, you have. Yeah,
which
you've been going.
nice.
Yeah, which is good. And lifting heavier weights, which is good to see.
Yeah, just focus on health and being more present and being more in the moment.
Yeah.
Instead of like talking now, I'm not thinking, oh, I've got to do X, Y, Z.
Yeah.
I can actually just talk and engage more, which is really really nice.
And what's really interesting is what you said about being present, because I kind of feel like, especially when we're at work, we're so into work that when we come home, we just want to so switch off from work that we're then just on our phone. And then it's like there's never actually that moment to sit and be present. And I've like really noticed that you don't even have your, like, and even I don't do, I like when it's the evening, we'll just put our phones away, because otherwise it's a bit like, what's the point of like being in the same room with each other?
Why are we even married?
If we're just like scrolling both on our phones or like sending.
If I come home exhausted, and then you've been working from home on that day, let's say, you'll want to speak to me, and I'm like, I've just spoken to 50 people. Yeah. Can I just chill?
And I'm like, no.
And then like that energy imbalance there, and then I'll just mong out and just be like that. Yeah. Dick scrolling, and then. Yeah, it's really not healthy, is it? So
I do wonder actually, like, I think I read somewhere, like, wasn't it like people are going to get like neck problems because they're always on their phone? And then if like people are sitting.
Thumb arthritis.
Oh God. Well, it's a good industry to get into, isn't it? Yeah. But again, if you're not exercising and stuff, like then people will get problems, or I don't know, will it be like a hunch neck, or like
probably
there'll be everyone walking around all like weird.
Yeah. So it's going to happen, isn't it? Just like walking yourself off a cliff.
Yeah. Well, actually,
into lampposts.
Yeah, the other day I nearly walked in, I was doing some work and I walked into a bar. And
that was quite
I was
funny.
not present in that moment, I guess. So,
dear.
It's one of those. So.
It just happens though, doesn't it?
Yeah, I guess so. So what was quite interesting actually is on my Instagram I put a poll if anyone had any like questions for us or for you. And one of the questions was like how to manage a lifestyle like whilst working, so having that work-life balance. And I guess what was really interesting is like you've indirectly covered it to say that when you are working from like 7 a.m. to 8 p.m, it's not even like, yes, you've got time when you're back home, but what we've always learned is when someone, like, it's not to do with time, it's like your energy of how you feel. So even if you've got like 2 hours before bed, you may not want to do a workout, and that's absolutely fine. But it's then learning to manage like energy balance or priorities, because I also find like, say for example with me, like my work days are super long, right? Especially if I'm like inspecting a dental practice. But if I want to get everything in, I am literally up at 5, aren't I? Like
crazy.
Getting my workout in, getting my steps in, doing my work before I then go to work. And I think it's like just planning the week really well. So if you know it's going to be a really intense week, or you know
Bingo.
You're working that many hours, it's okay, if I've only got these hours spare, how can I put these things in, and how can I be clever about it? Because you know, we don't need to do like an hour workout. Even if someone did 10 minutes, it's like way better than doing nothing, and that 10 minutes is just going to build up. But I don't know if you have
marginal gains.
Yeah,
marginal gains.
Progressive overload. But I don't know, like,
but I think that's exactly it, isn't it? It's when you really want to do it, then you'll be able to, you know, change some things in your schedule, in your life, to make it work. So like when you really want to, I'm sure you've got some clients that just walk around the dental surgery, don't they?
Yeah.
Just to get some steps in. And it makes sense. Like what I do now is I go down to call my patient in myself and then bring them up the stairs because we're on 2 floors. And then I'm going down and up maybe 20 times. And that's a marginal gain, isn't it? I'm doing some steps and at least I'm moving in the day and not just sedentary. So there's little things I think that people can do, as well as that overarching thing of, hey, look, this is important to me. It doesn't have to be healthy. It could be anything, right? This is important to me. So how can I fit it into the current week that I've got, lined up? If it just takes 10 minutes on a Sunday to think about it, doesn't it?
And just planning it all well. So if you know that actually this is something that I want to do and your weekend is full of socials, well then actually it's probably not that important to you, because then you'd probably take a step back from that weekend of socials. You can still have some socials, but it doesn't need to be from like, I see some people like 7 a.m. till like 1 a.m.
Just out all day,
and then I haven't had time to work out. And I'm like, well, you kind of chose to like go ahead and meet up with those people. You kind of chose to do that.
On a day like that, right? Let's say sometimes you can't.
Like a wedding or something.
So what would be more important on a day like that? Is it actually doing a workout or is it moving around, or is it the choice of food that they're going to do? Because there's still choices in the day that they can make. I'm sure, let's say it's a wedding day and your cousin's getting married. Right, we've had that relatively recently, wasn't it? And like we're up at 6 driving, and then we get changed at the venue, and then we're there, and there's a couple of hours in between, isn't there? After the ceremony, before reception. Like some people were in the pub. Some people went to Nando's. Didn't they?
Everyone does different, but everyone had a different choice that they made in that like 2-hour window. And as you said, it's like if time really isn't on your side, then it is just picking the right foods, just staying super active. Because like, do you remember when we had like Dilesh's wedding and it was like a week of events, and then we had the weekend, and as you said, like, I think like all the cousins, we all went for a walk, and I was pretty impressed. I was like, okay, I don't think I've endorsed this, and everyone was really happy to do that. Then some of the others like went to the gym, some other people did have some drinks in between, and it was like we all had that choice. And then it's like some people like it's just making the choice that's in line with you, so not what you feel you should be doing. It's just, okay, what's going to make me feel really good? And I know for me, like getting that fresh air, that made me feel better than doing a workout, because I was able to get out and walk around, and it should never feel forced, because I think the moment it feels forced, it's not actually that important to you. And then it's like, okay, I've got that awareness.
But, so that worked quite well, actually, didn't it? Was it October? It was relatively cold, wasn't it?
We all just
and the fields were a bit muddy, but because we hadn't seen people for years, probably because of COVID and stuff, and when the wedding was, we just as a bunch we all went, and it was something that you wanted to do.
I think other people had,
maybe 2 or 3 people had the idea. I wouldn't have done that. But
you'd have preferred to be.
But it was good, because then you a couple of you that want to do it, you can motivate, or if you really want to do it, you can make it fun and bring everybody along and catch up in a way that suits you. The social doesn't have to be the pub.
Exactly.
The cricket was on as well, wasn't it?
Exactly.
Was it the World Cup?
I don't know, because Mum and Dad were watching it, weren't they?
I can't remember.
And it's again like it was just really, it's just good to have that balance. So even like if work's really busy and you have really long hours, you will kind of make it work. And as we said, like the workout doesn't have to be crazy long. It's just making good food choices. And just
steps at work. You can go for a walk at lunch. Sometimes it's nice to get air and a break, isn't it? Even like, a lot of times I'll finish by the time I've written my notes. You lose half your lunch. But even just 10-15 minutes outside
to get that meal deal.
to get the meal deal. But it's like a little reset, isn't it? And like a little refresh and get some fresh air.
Exactly.
And anybody can make that sort of change, can't they? There's no reason that somebody in the city can't. There's no reason that somebody in healthcare can't. Even if you're working from home, there's no reason you can't. In fact, there's definitely no reason.
It always feels harder when I work from home though, but it's one of those. And then I guess we had another question as well, which was, if I've remembered it correctly, what one thing could you learn from me, and what one thing could I learn from you? So my understanding of that question, I probably phrased it completely wrong, would be one thing I think I could really, really learn from you is like, you're quite chilled and you're quite logical, and I think I can sometimes be like a little bit
dramatic
on edge or get super, super anxious, and then I'll be like, are you not freaking out about this? And you'll be like, oh, no, like I'm okay. And I'm like, okay, I need to be more like that. And I know we're all like different, but that's one thing that I'm always like, oh, I really wish I could like pick that up from you, because you are just like, you just get on with it, if that makes sense. And you don't like dramatize things in your head, and it's just like, it is what it is, isn't it? So
unless it's timekeeping, I'm a bit of a stickler for timekeeping.
Yeah,
then
we've all got our issues.
I get a bit ticky, don't I?
Yeah.
It's like, well, no, we're going to be late. No, come on, let's go.
And in my head, I'm like, oh, we're not going to be late. And then I'm like, oh my God, we're late. And it's like...
Well, we nearly missed the ferry that one time. Do you remember?
Yeah, but I was working, which I know is not a valid excuse, because I work like all the time, but I was literally doing work, which is really bad. That I think that should be an acceptable reason for me to be late.
To miss a ferry.
But actually, I should have prioritised like our time together versus my work.
Yeah, well,
which is fair to say, isn't it? So. Yeah. So anything at all you could learn from me?
Loads.
The silence just said it all to me. Like, do I need to repeat the question back? Or like,
yeah, what was the question?
Yeah. I was on to the next one.
Yeah.
So.
I think consistency is a really big thing. Is that if you say you're going to do something, you do it, and you do it again, and you do it again, and you keep going with it. And
cool.
I think for me, I'll do it for a little bit and then I'll stop.
Okay.
Or you say we're going to eat out, and then not eat out, rather we're going to eat at home, and we're going to cook this sort of stuff and plan.
Yeah.
You'll stick to it, and you'll stay consistent with the approach until you get the results that you want.
Yeah. Even when if you do say, oh, actually I want to eat out, then I'll just be like, that shouldn't actually have an impact, because you can still eat well when you eat out. So when it's but yeah, thank you for...
But the consistency thing generally is pretty... Yeah, I struggle with that. Like I want to mix up my workout just for fun.
Oh God, yeah, that's...
And then you're like, no, you've got to keep consistent with the same thing, change it after like months.
Yeah. That's how you get your pull-ups though.
That's how you get your results, isn't it? That's how you build stamina and endurance and strength or whatever. But
you're not going to hit that pull-up goal just like doing random bits in the gym.
Bits, whatever machine is free.
Yeah. Whatever's not broken at David Lloyd.
Consistency.
Oh, nice. Thank you. And then, so we've just got time for probably one more question that we had.
Okay.
I cannot now have to know. Any questions because I have now gone blank.
Wasn't it like somebody asked, what do you think of intermittent fasting? Maybe you don't want to get involved in that sort of nonsense. But.
Well, I guess like what I like to think is intermittent fasting is actually just an eating window. So you're basically just putting a time frame on what time you're eating. But I think people think, oh, intermittent fasting is going to cure everything and fix everything. But actually you're just basically picking not to eat after a certain time, which if you really...
It just stops you snacking.
Yeah, it just stops you snacking. Like if you're someone who says you're going to stop eating at 7 and you typically snack at 10 and it stops you from having the snacks at 10. Yeah, of course it's going to work.
Yeah,
but it's not the concept of intermittent fasting has like fixed my life basically. Like,
and it depends, like if you're, let's say 30% body fat and you want to get to 15% or 20 and you want to get to 15, the needle mover there isn't the eating window. The needle mover is move more, isn't it? Do more steps,
eat better,
get involved and eat healthy.
And be consistent. There's no point being consistent like 2-3 days a week and then hoping to get like life-changing results.
It's funny actually how people like randomly on Instagram will send messages like that. What do you think of intermittent fasting? It's like, well, it's not actually going to fix things. Or what do you think? I think if I go keto, then all my problems are solved. No. Just
depends on like where you're at now, where you want to get to, what you're willing to commit to as well, because you're not going to do it lifelong. Like, what's the point of doing something like cutting out gluten for like 2 months and then like 3 months later you're back on it? That's not, you're just going to damage your body, and then you're going to get like more problems. So it's, everyone always wants like the quick fix, the quick fad, and
it just goes back to that consistency thing, doesn't it? It's like, do the things that you know are going to work for where you are. I'm sure, you know, when you're 9% body fat and you want to get to 7, intermittent fasting may play a role. When your body's really finely tuned and you're really consistent. But first, let's just be consistent.
And that's the thing, like I've noticed, like with my journey as well, like when I've got leaner, the tactics do need to be like switched up a bit, but it's when you're literally like veins are popping out, you can see veins everywhere, you're like, okay, now I need to make, but till your body fat is that low, like you're safe
just stick with the traditional stuff and be consistent, right?
Exactly. Well, massive thank you for your time today, Arjan. Hopefully,
pleasure. It was fun.
People got to know us a little bit better versus just our jokes, reels that we do. And we've obviously been recording a whole
we've recorded a few more
in the background.
Keep an eye out.
And I guess like I'd like everyone to know that we're just super approachable. So always, I know I'm not the best at replying back instantly on Instagram, but always just to message us, and we'll always get back to everyone as much as we can, right?
Yeah, definitely.
Awesome. Cool. Well, thank you.
Thank you. It was great.